Idioms and metaphors. So, what is idioms? In a definition given by Larson, idiom is a string of words whose meaning is different from the meaning conveyed by the individual words. In Longman Dictionary of English, idioms are referred to as a fixed group of words with special different meaning from the meaning of the separate words. So in the idiom, we have a phrase and we have different words in that phrase, right? But the meaning of those phrases is totally different from the what meaning we extract from that idiom, right? So in idiom, we pick the conventional meaning. For example, we have the idiom over the moon, and it means to be extremely happy, right? So from the words over the moon, we can't guess that it means to be happy, right? But it is an idiom, and the meaning of the words, individual words, is completely different from the meaning that we get, right? So we can say that idiom is basically conventional meaning. Okay, so the first thing to mention here is that idiom cannot be translated literally because their meaning won't be predicted from the usual meaning of their constituents, right? So according to Mona Baker, who is a professor of translation studies at the University of Manchester in England, she states that idioms are frozen patterns of language which allow little or no variation in form and often carry meanings which cannot be deduced from their individual components. So she has stated 5 conditions for idioms, which are: the first one is the order of the words in an idiom cannot be changed, right? The way of words are put together is fixed and they cannot change their place. So as we can see from the definition of the Longman Dictionary, that idioms are fixed group of words. So according to Mona Baker, we cannot change the order of the words in an idiom, right? For example, if we have the idiom go to rack and ruin, so we cannot change it to go to ruin and rack, because it's fixed. Second point is the words in an idiom cannot be omitted. We, as the users of the language, are not permitted to delete some of the words of a particular element. For example, we have an idiom shed crocodile tears, so we cannot omit any word, any sort of word from this idiom, right? The third point is there are no extra words that might be added to an idiom. For example, has a narrow escape, not has a narrow quick escape. So there can be no addition as well in an idiom. Then fourth point is no words in an idiom can be replaced by another word. So it's easy that we cannot replace any words. For example, we have a idiom out of sight, out of mind. So we cannot change it. We cannot replace the word mind with heart or sight with any word, right? So we cannot replace it. The fifth point is the grammatical structures of an idiom cannot be changed. We cannot change it if we have an idiom in an active voice, we cannot change it in a passive voice, right? For example, we have an idiom ring the bell, so we cannot change it in a passive voice that bell was ringed. So these are the 5 points, right? Simple, that we cannot omit words, we cannot change the order, we cannot add extra word, we cannot replace another word, and the grammatical structure also cannot be changed in an idiom. So translating idioms are is a very complex and problematic task for translators, right? But there are some strategies which can be used for the translation of idioms. The translator should choose a proper strategy according to the purpose of the translation, but at the same time bears in mind that nothing should be eliminated, right? Every concept in one particular language has its own correspondent in another language. So omitting a word in an idiom from the text is not a wise action to take, right? So it's a very difficult task, we can say in short. Then we have metaphors, translating metaphors. Okay, so metaphors can be defined as an indirect comparison between two or more apparent unrelated things or subjects. The point of similarity may be physical, but often it is chosen for connotations. So we know that in metaphors we compare two entirely different things that have something in common. For example, we can say she has a heart made of gold. So this is a metaphor because heart cannot be made of gold. So this metaphor can be used to tell that how kind and loving that person is, right? So translating metaphor is also a very complex task, as Richard once claimed that translating is probably the most complex type of event in the history of cosmos, which is world, right? So translating involves not only two languages, and those languages are the source language and the target language, but it also involves two different cultures. In the development of modern theories of translation, translating becomes more complex, for it has been defined as a cross-cultural communication event. So, in the metaphors, there is not only two languages that are involved. There are two entirely different cultures. So, it can be very difficult to translate it. Thus, the metaphorical language used by people must be saturated with culture peculiar to it. Because of the influence of cultural features, the translation of metaphors become most important particular problem. In short, we can say that while translating metaphor from source language to target language, a number of problems can appear, and due to the differences between the culture. So, to translate metaphors, the translators translate them from the angle of culture, not only the languages but also from the angle of culture, because metaphors as a figure of speech are associated with culture due to relationship of culture and language. We know that culture and language, they are they do come from each other, right? So on one hand, language is integral part of the culture, and it obviously plays a very important role in it, and on the other hand, language is shaped and influenced by culture. So culture influence upon language is obvious on metaphors. In short, metaphors acquire their associated meaning from their native literature, from their local customs, from their religion, from their worldviews, through their modes of thinking, and so on, which are sometimes clearly different and sometimes overlap in different cultures, right? For example, we have in English, a dragon is associated with power, goodness, and success. Um, no, sorry, in Japanese, right? But in English, dragon is used for the bad people in actions. So we can say that metaphors, they vary from culture to culture, and of course, it is not a very easy task to translate it. Uh, okay, so okay, so this is okay. This phenomena is called cultural overlaps. So, through the analysis, it has been proved that metaphor translation is quite difficult and complex, and there are a lot of misunderstanding. There might appear a lot of misunderstanding in the process of translating metaphors. So, in short, we can say that translating idioms and metaphor is a very difficult task, because they don't only belong to the language, but they also belong to the native culture of a particular place. Thank you.